What is good, my people? We are live, back with another live show on the forecast. And I'm not gonna be on here too long today. I just wanted to come on and let y'all know that the new video will be up on the new channel, the backup channel. I know y'all used to the videos that I used to make, but I can't put them on this channel because YouTube makes sure I have one strike at a time, so they can always just hit me with a warning, so I can't post up anything. So just subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. The new video will be up at 9 o'clock. It's gonna live premiere, so we'll be over there at 9 o'clock. So make sure y'all tune in for that. I'm not sure if YouTube is gonna keep this video up because what I'm talking about. But I definitely want to get y'all to call in today too. Y'all call in and speak your piece or whatever. And before I start, today, my grandma would have been 100 years old, and so I want to say R.I.P. to her and R.I.P. to all the ancestors and everybody that we do this for, and shout out to everybody that been supporting me. My sister Wanda Chavis, she holds it down. Shout out to her. I appreciate her. So, you know, um, we have to have a lot of conversations within our community, right? It's no more talking to your enemy, as they say. You can't negotiate with terrorists, right? And you cannot talk sense into a psychopath. You cannot ask them to change. In fact, when you come to them asking for help, asking for change, they get irritated with you. You're supposed to just stay in your place. Psychopath sees you as nothing but a tool. So we can't continue to have conversations trying to change the mind of a psychopath, right? We have to start having conversations within our own community, because sometimes a bully only respects one thing, right? A bully only respects when you hit them back. So, like my brother Bakari says, we have to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, because when you start rebuilding your community, your enemy will definitely see that as a threat in itself, right? That's why they have done and continue to do everything they can to destroy you, to keep you in your place. And one of the major things that we do have to start talking about, right? Because one of the main problems that we have is the lack of self-love that has been beaten within us and still within us. And every time we start talking about justice, one of the first go-to talking points they use is, well, what about black on black crime? But what about black on black crime? Right? And first of all, I love taking their talking points away because it's so easy. James Baldwin said all of this stuff back in the 50s, right? A lot of people say all of this stuff back then. All of their talking points have been debunked. But when they talk about what about black on black crime, you got to watch how they talk. Watch how they talk about the statistics, right? Because sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, white people get shot more by police than black people do. But in those cases, they'll talk about specific numbers, right? Because they'll be like, you know, 400 and some black people. What's going on, Mr. Fix It? But they'll be like, 400 and some people got shot compared to 300 and some people. But when you account for population, it's not even close. But see, when they talk about other crimes, they do account for population, right? And you got to watch how they try to trick you or hit you with the trick bag. It's all tricknology. So don't let anybody ever tell you, about quote unquote these statistics. Now, the other thing about, this whole what about black on black crime, we aren't as divided as they like us to believe, right? Because as long as they're in control of the media and what we see, it's called propaganda. They're going to always tell us that, oh, your brother said this about you, your sister said this about you, right? That's why you always see them in our chat room, in our spaces. We think they're just trolling and whatever, but this is nothing but tactics to keep you divided, right? Because the only way a minority, because that's what they call you the minority, but the only way is the Forecast Radio 24 is in the description. I'm gonna put the link to the video that's going to live premiere after this show. What's going on, my brother Al? Yeah, that's the link to the video that's going to live premiere right after this. So, make sure y'all subscribe to that channel. I know YouTube is going to hate. They don't send out the notifications. They don't show how many people actually watching, right? Because, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more than what it says. But anyway, with this whole black on black crime thing, see, when you're a minority, it doesn't matter how many weapons or any of that stuff, right? You have to keep your enemy divided and conquered, right? Not only to break up their numbers, but to have them fighting each other. What's going on, my black man? But you have to keep them fighting each other to keep them from teaming up to fight you. So, of course, they're going to do things. And again, this is a tactic of a psychopath. If you ever look at one, right, they'll go to two different people. There'll always be the man in the middle, but you never really notice that all the information is coming from this one source. You're thinking that it's true, but it's always the man in the middle. That's why they can't have you congregating. That's why they can't have you talking. And there's literally been laws in America to stop you from congregating with each other, right? We have to understand that there has been literally laws on the books to keep us from coming as a group more than 2 or 3 people. More than 3 people is considered a gang even to this day. Now, most of all of that is to make you see yourself as the issue, to make you think that you have the problem, right? Because if you have this self-hatred deep in, and it's hard to really get a grasp of it mentally, because it's hard to hate yourself. So, of course, you're going to push that out on it to the world. And anybody that you see, you're going to think, well, hey, all of the stuff that I'm hearing about must be true. If you see another black man walking down the street, if you close your eyes, God forbid if he has dreads, you'll probably be thinking the same way that they do, right? You'll be clutching your purse a little bit tighter. But, two white boys walking down the street, and they are the ones with the history of killing you, you won't think the same way, right? But that's all propaganda that has been put into our head, into our system, to make us, right? Yeah, Uncle Ruckus. I mean, and that's the thing, and that's what I'm getting to, right? Me, I'm personally not as hard on what we would call coons or whatever, because I look at that as victim blaming, right? They have severe Stockholm syndrome. The system has been designed. They show you, and they still do it to this day when they're showing people on TV get shot down. Right now, they'll say some things is too violent for TV, right? If you see something happening to an Asian person, like when that Asian person got hit, they say, oh, it's too violent, we can't show this. But they can show you get shot 100 times, right? That's to get that image into your head. And, question is, does black on black crime, could you be considered a coon or not? And of course, this is always one of their go-to talking points. But they don't really want to understand how that mentality has been beaten into us. But this is a conversation that we have to have in order to get past that, right? To start looking out for our brothers, because now we starting to have conversations, right? And it doesn't really matter if it's family, right? Because, and it's really a certain generation, right? It's really, I'm not trying to blame it all on one generation, because every generation had their quote unquote coons. But, right, the generation like my mom's generation, they were the ones to be the first ones to integrate the schools, right? Because this is what we have to realize: this self-hatred has always been a mission of white supremacy, but we have found a way to have unity. But what has happened between that unity and where we are today? And see, that generation was one of the first generations to go to white schools to try to assimilate, right? And that in itself messes with your head, messes with your mind, right? Because we got to understand the mental effects that everything has. Because once we start dealing with the mental issues and really putting it out there, we can really start to solve and heal it. Because we're looking for a way to defeat them, but really we need to find a way to be who we are supposed to be, and the rest will take care of itself. Once you start to have that self-love, all the right ideas, the right plans, and all of that will start to come to you, right? A lot of people did defend that. And a lot of people go back to that. Well, what about black on black crime, right? Because this is an issue that we do have to solve. Because when that little girl called the police, right, and of course, she's a 16-year-old girl. But when we start calling the police, because there are going to be situations where you have to deal with the police or you need some help, what are we going to start doing to have an alternative to calling the police? Because there's a 50-50 chance, if not higher, that the person who called could end up dead. Now, I don't know if that's not a state of emergency, then I don't know what is. Right? When you call for help and there's a 50-50 chance that you can end up dead, if that's not enough for you to want to create your own institutions, then I don't know what is. But as I, say, black unity, right? The black messiah is black unity. It can only happen when you have a collection of people. You need your own hospitals. You need your own police force. But a lot of this is hard to do when we have so many tribal differences that we argue over, that we fight over, and we have no problem arguing or fighting over it. Right, exactly. You're starting your own hood watch and all of that, right? Because this is not new concepts. That's why they have to keep us from learning history. That's one of the reasons why they're so against that critical race theory. Not only would they have to admit their crimes, we'll get to start seeing effective programs that we've always had. Because you got to understand, they don't create these programs if you were just that docile, that submissive. They know the potential and the power that you have. That's why they have to keep that mindset, that attack so heavy. And if you was to start getting your children, right, which grow up to the going through the prison to pipeline or school to prison pipeline, right? If you was to start getting in control of the schools, so you're avoiding that pipeline and teaching those children to love each other and see each other as brother and sister, and you're not debating on, oh, well, why should we protect black women? When really, as a black man, I should protect the black man, I should protect the black woman, I should protect the black child, because I understand how this system sees me. They see us as one big nigga. You got to understand, right? This whole critical race theory, and they're showing you this is really a question of your humanity. How they came over, what they justified in their minds, coming to take your land was you were savages. They were able to spread across the country because they was taking the land from savages. And today, Joe Biden is talking about I extend the Voters' Rights Act. But if you was a citizen, why would he have to extend a Voters' Right Act? And you only get 25 years, by the way. But their laws says any person born in America is a citizen. So if any person born in America is a citizen, but you ain't considered a citizen, what are they trying to say about you? Now we got to understand this is the mindset that we are being born into, and we have to take action to learn and go the opposite direction. And far too often, and this is why we don't discuss the mental health issues in our community, right? Because what psychopaths do is they make sociopaths, right? These are people, and a lot of people, they talk down on the hood. You know, I've had jobs where I had to go through there all day, and most of the time it's good people in there. But it's some people in there that, yeah, they have become victim of their circumstances. But where does that mindset? See, this is where, Malcolm X used to say, "Who taught you to hate yourself?" Right? And we're going to start saying now, because we're 70. That's 70 years ago. So now we're going to start saying, "Who is going to teach us to love ourselves?" Or we just got to teach ourselves that. But the person, you got to understand, the person that taught you to love yourself, where does that person come from? That person comes from a place of scarcity, a place of lack. Right before they got to America, it was the Dark Ages, and before that. So if they didn't know if they were going to find food or whatever, they were going to fight each other. They were going to do whatever so that they can stay alive. It's called survival. It's an individual mindset. But when you have an abundance mindset, you come from a place with abundance, right? It's good weather, so the food is abundant. You don't have to do all of that. You can have more of a sense of community because there's a sense of abundance. You don't feel like you're going to run out. But somebody who come from a place like that, that's why they had to go out across the world. John Henry Clark said this, right? They didn't leave where they were from for no reason. They left because it was coming from a place of scarcity. But you got to understand where a place of scarcity coming from lack, what kind of psychological mindset that develops over time is going to turn you into a psychopath because you're going to do whatever you have to do. You're going to lose that empathy for another person because you're hungry. You end up resorting to savages because believe me, if you ever dealt with a psychopath, you'll know what they say is all projection. What they think they are, they'll say that's what you are. That's how a psychopath works. So now they bringing that whole mindset and coming to you after they failed to build their own land. They're eating each other and all that. They're bringing that energy over here to you. And now for somebody who feels bad, who has a low vibration like that, they're going to bring everybody who they come in contact with down with them. And the only way they can feel like they have something is to make sure you don't have anything. Because that's how a mindset that was developed. See, and now we know about all of the Black Wall Streets and all of the Rosewoods and how they attack community after community. This is why one of the main parts was this being an economic war. One of the main is a mental war, is a war about everything. But if they can keep you in a state of poverty, of lack, a mindset of lack, then they can pretty much control you. Right, but we shouldn't have them patrolling our neighborhoods. This is the part where we need to start patrolling our neighborhoods. But we got to understand what this mindset of self-hate. First of all, this is not our this is not our thought pattern to begin with. This is something that has been projected onto us and then repeated over and over and over. And when you repeat the same lie over, not only do they believe it, we start to believe it. And we start to take on those characteristics. But when we realize that whole mindset is not our thinking, that has been projected, that comes from somebody else. Because, see, you welcome them in with open arms every single time. And now today, even, you're still having problems getting them to pay you back the money that they took from you. Because when Haiti rose up, what did the French do? They put sanctions on them, economic sanctions. And now, if you have somebody that's starving and you come over there and give them a ham sandwich, now you're going to look at this person as a hero, even though they're the person who gave you a ham sandwich, or they're the ones who made you starve in the first place. So now we have to deal with sending our children to their schools, then coming home, right, to broken homes, living in poverty, not enough money, right? And it's not by accident, it's all by design, right? Because when people try to say, well, it's their character, they leave out a whole history of attacking people this way. It's not by accident that the places that have the nicest weather around the world, that seem to have the most black people and seem to have the most natural resources, are poor. And by the way, anybody want to call in, the number is 804-601-4015. I'm not gonna be on here too long. I'm gonna try to stay on here until the live video on the backup channel, the Forecast Radio. So make sure y'all subscribe. It's in the description. I put it in the chat. Make sure y'all subscribe to that channel, because I can't put the videos on here because YouTube, they like to give me one strike at a time, so they can always give me a warning and keep me from uploading. So I'm gonna just do the live shows on here, but the videos that you're used to is still on the Forecast Radio 24, and it's coming out right after this. But anyway, now we are sending our kids to their schools where they're blatantly telling you, right? And we wonder why we have this self-hate, a self-love deficiency, almost like a codependency to a psychopath that has been literally created. And now this system, you have to imagine what a system that was created by psychopaths is going to create. It's going to create more sociopaths and psychopaths. And then in our case, us trying to fit into a system that is not designed for us. In fact, it's designed to be the opposite of us, that makes the hair that grows out of our head illegal, right? That stripped us of our natural language, that took away the knowledge of our ancestors for real. That system can only produce sociopaths. So us even trying to fit in the system is going to drive us crazy in itself. Now, a lot of people, especially, this is where a lot of black people get kind of iffy when we start having this talk, because they'll say, oh, well, what about black on black crime? Well, first of all, I know a lot of that crime comes from poverty, the poverty that has been created in our system. So if that's the case, I would much rather my tax money go to those people than to the police that come in and killing us, because you're really comparing the police to the people that you call thugs. They're admitting the truth. They always admit the truth, right? They talk subliminal, whatever, but they always tell on themselves, because one thing they are is arrogant. And one thing that a psychopath think is that you are weak and you will never stand up for yourself. And they're petty and they always have to cross your boundaries. And they know that they can come over here and harm somebody in your family, and you go to court and you hug them. But you got to know that that's something wrong if your brother does something like bumps into you walking down the street and y'all get into a fight and you never forgive them. You got to understand, you got to see on the bigger picture. That's not your programming. Something is wrong with that. You're looking through the eyes of a white supremacist, but that's what it's trained to be. The system was built, right? And before, even though they didn't actually keep it, right? If you accepted the ways of the Englishmen, they allowed you to be free for like 20 years anyway, in like the 1600s. But you had to accept the ways of the Englishmen. Now, one of the ways of the Englishmen has been historically slaughtering other people, among many other things. So you have, your little children being taught not only not about who you are, because they're showing you they don't want you to learn about your history, right? You learn about Martin Luther King and you was a slave. And that's it. So they aren't being taught with a self-pride, some kind of self-love. They don't see anybody in a position that can help them. And then they see their father get pulled over by the police and have his rights violated and he can't do anything. Or even worse, the police violate his son's right in front of him and he can't do anything. And that has a mental effect on the kid. That puts a sense of helplessness, a sense of powerlessness, which is designed to do, by the way. So you have this kid going to school to learn that psychopaths like Christopher Columbus discovered America and George Washington was a great man, right? But to them, you got to understand, looking at the eyes, through the eyes of a European, they determine who is great by their country, because George Washington was no different from Hitler. Andrew Jackson caught probably more bodies than Hitler, but they put him on money, they put them on mountains, but they villainize one. For them, it's really about tribalism more than we think, because we only see their united front against us. They get on code, Irish, German, all of that stuff go out the window when it comes to us. But when it comes to them, they have their tribal differences too. See, this is the energy that we have been picking up for hundreds of years, that have been beaten into us. And now you have little black boys and girls being taught by mostly white women who try to blend in. We let them play both sides of the fence. And we give excuses to everybody. That's how you know that it's not love, because you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. And you know when you love yourself, when you don't allow somebody to violate your boundaries, when you don't let somebody hurt you or destroy you. That's how you know that you love yourself. So how are you sticking up for somebody else if you don't even have the love that you're supposed to have for yourself? It cannot be love. It has to be coming from some other place. And all you seeing is this great white person did this great white person did that, right? All you seeing is this criminal thug black person, this pimp black man, this prostitute black woman. You go home and you see the poverty that has been instilled, but you don't know, especially as a kid, how all of that happened. And you see all of this, and all of that self-hatred start building up within. And Tupac said it, right? Because most of the time when you see the violence in the black communities and you see black people walking around not armed for their enemy who have been killing them for hundreds of years, but armed against to protect themselves against each other, right? They're doing it to survive, not to go out and kill for fun. See, that's the difference, right? They've been put in an environment that was created to make them that way. Now it don't give them no pass, but how are you gonna start treating that? And we have had black patrols, and that's to patrol not only other people from coming in, but to patrol ourselves. But that's not dealing with the mental health issues in our community, that not only by the food and all of that, that's a whole nother subject, but just off the programming. How are we going to start dealing with the mental health, right? All of that starts at the ground level of getting your child's mind first before the system of white supremacy does. We're wondering why so much mental health in our community, so many mental health problems. Well, look at the society that we are prisoners of war in. Look how much gaslighting that they do to you, where they even tell you that racism doesn't exist. You will find them, you will find them in the 1870s, 1880s, saying slavery was over, right? What are the niggas complaining about? You'll find them in the 50s talking to Martin Luther King, talking to James Baldwin, saying racism is over. What are you complaining about? And today they're telling us racism over. What are you complaining about? That's called gaslighting. But you know what? 50 years later, every time they admitted it, all of this stuff is crazy making, and we wonder why we go off the deep end. But one part that we have to start holding ourselves accountable, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over. It's time for us to get tired of being insane and try something new. Right after, you know, 1700s, after like the first 50, first 100, first 500 treaties, we should have learned our lesson. There's no negotiating. You cannot give your child's mind over to a psychopath and expect something positive back from it. They're teaching your child to be a worker, not an entrepreneur, not an owner. You're supposed to be working for them, because to a psychopath, you are a tool. and nothing else. Why would they ever give up the power and the position that they had? Right. And by the way, y'all can call in if y'all want to call in. The number is right there on the screen, 804-601-4015. And make sure y'all go over and subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. Cause I'm gonna try to stay on until the live premiere come on. It's supposed to be on and then at 9 East Coast time. So about another 30 or 40 minutes. So make sure y'all go subscribe and check it out. But see, in that video, I'm talking about watching how your enemy stays on code, watching how your enemy move. Because they're guaranteed watching, right? It may not seem like they're watching now, but they're watching right now. That's how they know who to shadow ban and who not. They listening to every word, right? Because they want to know what you know. They want to know if you're still wrapped around their finger, if you're still going to be a good slave like they made you be. Because, see, they feel like they can just say and do whatever they want to do. And we are so apologetic about who we are. When we say, hey, stop killing us, stop shedding our blood, we got to say, oh, well, I don't mean all white people are bad. I don't mean all cops are bad. It doesn't matter. And by the way, all cops uphold a system of white supremacy. The police is the biggest gang. And they uphold a system designed to keep us at the bottom. And they don't even lie about it. They may try to use tricky language. It's all technology. But see, there was this girl, Jessica Dottie Whitaker. She was with her little mob. They got drunk on the 4th of July last year, walking around calling people niggas, right? But then they got checked by a group, right? And I think they was black people. I don't know, because they never caught them. But Jessica's boyfriend, because this is what they're doing. They're pulling out guns on you, thinking that's gonna scare you, right? But the group, they had their own gun. They was ready. And when they walked their own way, somebody said Black Lives Matter. They start calling them niggas, saying all lives matter. So somebody shot into their little mob and killed this white girl. Now, as much as they talk about you, all of a sudden they understand what a hate crime is. And this is how you know you're being gaslit. This is how you know you're being lied to. And this is how you know they do it on purpose. Because when it happens to them, right, they make fun of you. They say what you're saying is crazy. But when it happens to you, they do exactly what you do. They don't say, oh, I gotta wait for the facts. They don't say this family is just trying to get paid. They say this woke movement is getting out of control and it gotta be stopped now. They say white lives matter. They have protests. They say justice for Jessica. Put her face on a t-shirt just like you do. But they tell you you're crazy when you do it. But if it happens just one time, they get right on code and say, not all lives matter anymore. Now they're saying white lives matter. Now, the difference between them and us, we're not in a position of power. And we can't come out having people like the brother said, a lot of people was saying how that 16-year-old girl deserved it. Because you're rarely going to see that from them. They're going to say, this was wrong. That dude should have. It doesn't matter what somebody says. They can call you whatever name they want to call you. But see, they're going to learn that there's going to be repercussions when you disrespect or violate us. all that time of no disrespect, and their ancestors is probably turning over in their graves right now, seeing the system that they built fall apart right before their eyes. But they get right on code, right? I don't know if y'all seen that white girl who got punched or smacked by that black dude in the store in Virginia. But they're trying to say the black man was wrong, right? For punching this white girl coming at him, but you know who was saying he was wrong. Because they get on code. They don't care what the person did. It's not about right. It's not about wrong. It's about winning. It's about control. And for us, it's not about being in control and doing to them what they did to us. For us, it's about self-autonomy. We don't want some psychopath controlling our food because we know they'll put stuff in our food. We don't want them controlling the medicine because we know the medicine that we'll need, they'll make it too expensive for us. And the medicine that we don't need, they'll try to have raffles to get us to take it. And we definitely don't need them controlling our kids' mind. And now we looking at each other, fighting each other over a block that a police officer pull up and get everybody off the block. They call them gang members, but they'll come up and chase all the other gang members away. So who's the most powerful gang right there? And we'll know that we're healing and we're getting past the sickness, this kind of codependency, when we stop valuing a piece of paper with dead people on them that would have killed us. Right? Real money is the natural resources, right? But we're doing everything to, including hurting ourselves and each other, to have whatever Europeans deem as worthy, right? Going by their standards, the way you dress. You're not clean cut if you don't dress like they want you to dress. If you don't act like they want you to act, you're not acting right. You're not acting professional. But as long as we have that mentality where we're chasing a dollar instead of chasing self autonomy, instead of chasing the actual money, we're fighting each other over pieces of paper with Andrew Jackson on them, who would have lynched me probably for saying half the stuff I say. But we'll kill each other to get a piece of paper, trying to have European standards and ideals. But they even put their own poor people in situations to be used. That's why they had to create a system where they think they're over you, where they think they're better than you, to have them chasing their own tail. You're trying to fit into a system that they will raise the rent in a certain place, but still tell you you can't make but so much, so that they can get you out of there. And I never understood why. So, because this is a part of that self-hatred. Because we got to start looking at the crimes and all of the stuff that we do to ourselves. And, I'm guilty of a lot of stuff like eating bad and all of that stuff. But we got to start looking at the mindset that we have about ourselves. Why do we just accept when somebody make a law and say, oh, well, that's just the way it is? That's how life is. That is not how life is. That's how this system was designed. Life is not death and taxes. Because you shouldn't even be paying taxes to the very people who stole everything from you anyway. Right? If you're paying taxes, why aren't you paying taxes into your own community? Into stuff that will really help you and not designed to destroy you. You can't take the roots out of it. You can't be a part of white supremacy and hope to change it from within. You can't take the roots out of it and expect it to survive. But you say, and especially during this election, a lot of us was just so scared. We have all these issues. We have the most issues in every category, but we wouldn't ask for one thing. In fact, we ask for things for other people, things to help illegal immigrants, help Mexicans. But when it came to us, we just had to get this evil person out of office, the lesser of two evils. That's a sign of low self-esteem. That's a sign of self-hatred. We got to have more faith in ourselves to be able to build our own communities and do what we have to do. Because nobody else is going to validate you. Nobody else is going to love you, especially if you don't love yourself enough to take control of your own mind, the mind of your children, and the mind of your future generations, your prodigy or whatever. Because America's design was perpetual servitude. Perpetual means forever. And we sit there and say, okay, well, we can be patient a little while longer. No, we can't. The anger is not the thing that you should be trying to get rid of. The anger is the thing that you're supposed to have. It lets you know that you're human. Somebody violates you, you're supposed to be mad about it. They make you feel guilty for being mad. Now, the point is using that anger to change the situation in a healthy way. Right? It's like the Hawk said on on one of those movies, he said, I'm always mad. But we take that anger, that mad, that anger, that energy out within. And if we don't hurt ourselves, we hurt the people that's around us. Because in the family, we have to start seeing this on an individual level because it's not impossible to defeat white supremacy like we think. It's not something that's so hard. Psychopaths aren't that smart. They just have to keep you dumb. Right? Not saying that we're dumb, but it's a reason why they didn't want you reading. It's a reason why they don't want you to know your history. Right, Shanique? Yeah. They've never kept one promise to anyone. And insanity is believing that they will. But the thing is, we know that they won't. So we got to understand, why do we keep trying to change something that we know won't change? And that has to be coming from a place of self-hatred. And once you can understand and start right, the anger is supposed to be there. And we got to understand, why would anybody be okay with somebody who does not care about you at all, controlling your environment 100%? When you get to that point of self-love, you want to change your environment. You love yourself not to be around something that's bad for you. But when it's something that is self-hatred, you try to change yourself to fit in with the thing that's bad for you. And you end up destroying yourself and everything that's around you. And we accept their projection and we say it's our fault. We say, what about black on black crime? And we fight each other over the scraps that they throw down, right? Because they know if they set a sense of urgency within us, you're gonna be so hungry. Like if somebody starves you for food, somebody starves you of attention, somebody starves you of anything, you think a little bit is a whole lot. And just like if you starve a bunch of dogs and throw a steak in the middle, they'll fight each other. But we got to start realizing that they have all of the steak over here, all of our steak, and they're throwing us the scraps to keep us in a state of low vibration, low energy, fighting each other to quote unquote keep up with the Joneses. Now, if anybody want to call in, y'all can call in the number right there on the screen, 804-601-4015. Make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. It's in the description. I'm about to have a live premiere at 9 o'clock East Coast time in the next 20 minutes. So I'm gonna be off here in a few more minutes. So if anybody want to call in, you can call in right now. Let me know how you feel about it. But they know as long as we are fighting to be a part of their system, we fight them to join their military, to go to different places and instill white supremacy. Right? We fight them to go to restaurants where they hate us and you don't even know if they're spitting in your food or whatever. We fight them to join every organization, everything that they have. But that shows a lack of self-love within yourself. Because if we put a fraction of the energy that we fought to be a part of America into having our own, building our own, we would be light years ahead of ourselves. And they know more than anybody, if we were to ever reach critical mass of having your brothers or your sisters back, they will be in trouble because there's nothing they could do to stop us. And they know that better than anybody. That's why no matter how many weapons they had, no matter how many troops they used, they've always had to use deception. They were always getting crushed and said, okay, we'll have a treaty. And as soon as you let your guard down, that's when they attack you. Because it's about having the advantage. Even though they have unfair advantage already, they will still cheat. But you still have the ability to win. But it won't start until you start appreciating yourself first. And then appreciating the person next to you. If you see a black man or black woman, just speak to them. right? It's called building camaraderie with each other, because we have been poisoned by a sick society, and we've tried to integrate into a sick society, and now all anybody can do is look at life through a white supremacist lens. And you could tell this because every time that a black person stands up, they try to compare it to some white ideology that has nothing to do with us, like they call the critical race theory Marxism. And Karl Marx was probably some racist dude who would probably be against critical race theory. But why are you comparing us to a European? All that is to develop a lack of sense of self. Yeah, nobody is trying to recreate America. That's where you got it messed up. We have to realize that it is not that difficult, right? It's not about what somebody else lets you do. And as soon as you realize that, your destiny will change overnight, right? Many people have said it. If we wanted to, our destiny will change overnight because they cannot stop us. They put organizations together to stop us. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. YouTube is acting crazy. But things that we can do right now, and I always say solutions. And I always say this: right now we can, because we want to be so hyped to join in other people's elections, right? Because that's what they do. That's what I was saying. That's what they do. They try to get you to diverge from the point, to always throw you off of the point. And they try to compare when you stand up for yourself, right? They call Huey P. Newton the terrorist, but allowed the KKK to operate. If you say something, they say, oh, that's a Democrat mindset. That's a Republican mindset. No, we don't have any of that. We have a mindset of self autonomy where we control our own laws. We create our own language. We teach our own children. We create our own businesses. We create our own self defense mechanisms. And we do whatever we have to do to ensure that our children and the generations perpetually have self autonomy. But at the end of the day, right now, we can take the most successful business people and nominate them and have our own election, right? Because if we can get out and vote for which races we like better, right? The racism in your face or the behind your back racism, we can get out and vote for that. We can get out and vote for creating our own infrastructure. And we nominate the most successful black business people and make sure that they stay transparent, make sure they do what they say they're going to do, because the one thing that America has a history of is attacking any organization designed to empower black people. They have tried to destroy it. That's why any organization still around, like the NAACP, right, created by Europeans, the organization of Black Lives Matter, created by Europeans, they still are around, existing, right? But the ministers of defense, the MOVE organization, right, literally bombed. And by the way, they just released the remains. This shows you what kind of psychopath you're dealing with. They just released the remains of the children killed, of some of the children killed in the move bombing. And you wonder where those negative, low vibration thoughts and actions and mindsets come from. You're adopting and trying to assimilate into a society created by psychopaths. It's not healthy. It turns you into a sociopath. But like I was saying, you build or you right, but the Republicans don't believe in less government. They believe the government should stop anything that they don't agree with. Right? Both sides are not true to their word, and that's the thing about America. That's the thing about a psychopath. They never true to their word. Always judge somebody by their actions and never by their words. And that's why after you create this organization and you donate your money, whether it be $1, $10, $1,000,000, we all can contribute. But you have to stay on top of it. Make sure they're transparent and they do what they say they're going to do. And once you build those organizations, right, then they'll be able to put businesses in our communities. Those businesses will be able to hire us. In return, we'll have more money to circulate in our communities, right? Once you build that infrastructure, you can build the schools, you can build your hospitals, right? You detach yourself. Because the one thing about, uh, right, two sides of the same coin. That's right. Because the one thing about a psychopath, you cannot reason with them. If you study how to get away from if you study how to deal with a psychopath, is you get away from them. But the thing that you have to remember, right? And this is the thing where you have to remember how much power you have. Because once you do that, you won't turn that negative self-hatred energy into yourself. You'll find a way to use that to be the creative masters of the universe that we are. Right? It will be simple, just like that, to destroy this system once we understand who we are. But you know, you build that self-love within yourself, right? You build your own communities and you have your own mindset. Now, I appreciate all of y'all for watching, man. Make sure y'all go to the Forecast Radio 24. I know I keep saying it, but the video is about the live premiere in about 10 minutes on the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. I'm not sure how long the video is gonna be up. But understand, once you realize who you are and understand this is what you have to realize about yourself. Your enemy who claims that they hate you so much, the ones who taught you to hate yourself, they are the ones who had to come over there and kidnap you, right? So that they can build their empire. They are the ones who dress up in blackface all the time. You would think it would be us trying to assimilate into their culture. No, they are the ones from the beginning, dress up in blackface and imitate us. Right? They are the ones who want you dependent on them. They are the ones who take whatever music from the blues to rap and try to make it their own and sell it like it's their own. They are the ones who take the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress, and try to imitate it. Now, why would somebody, if they were superior to you, always imitate everything you do? If they were so superior and you were so inferior and You cause your own problems and all of this. Why are they always in your spaces? Why are they always listening to you? Why are they always trying to discredit you? It's because they know who you are. You are the only one who don't know who you are. They know the power of creation that you have. You have the ability to create any nation. You created this nation. And within this nation, you are the only ones to pick yourselves up by your own bootstraps. Yeah, black man, that's a fact. They were built to keep black people from working, and that's why black people weren't allowed to get on there. But if you weren't the if you weren't as special, as great as you are, why would somebody spend hundreds of years to attack you? Why would they respond so urgent to keep you in the position that you're in? Why do they need to keep you in their system if you aren't as special and as great as you're supposed to be? And once you know that, that self-hate will turn to self-love. Now you may still have that anger, but you're supposed to stop them from violating your boundaries, to stop people from disrespecting you, to make sure that you have self autonomy, to make sure that that power of creation is used for yourself. Right? The first will always be the last. And I'm not even religious or biblical or nothing like that, but the first will always be the last. You weren't stripped of the knowledge of self for no reason. You were stripped because you are powerful. And this system is destroyed the second that you realize that and you act on it and stop responding or stop reacting and start responding, right? Reacting is getting mad. Responding is using that anger to destroy the system. Now, I appreciate all of y'all for watching, all of y'all for commenting. Um, the video is about to premiere in about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna put it in the chat room, the link to the new video, and make sure y'all go over there and watch it. We're gonna be in the chat room. I'm not sure if YouTube is gonna leave this one up. I ain't really get a chance to watch it, so it's gonna be new to me too. But man, I appreciate all of y'all, man. Um, Shouts out to my sister Wanda Chavis. She always looks out, man. The sister be holding me down. And I got a shout out to my grandmother who would have been 100 today, right? She grew up in Emporia, Virginia. She used to tell me stories, right, about how these two little white boys used to chase her home from school every day. She only went to like 7th grade or 6th grade or something like that, because this was back in the 30s and the 20s. And these two white boys used to chase her every day. And I didn't understand what that meant, right? I thought they were just playing. But there's no telling what they would have did to her if they caught her, right? And that's the difference that we gotta understand from us being here and us not being here. But anyway, shouts out to her. She would have been 100. And I appreciate all of y'all for listening. I'm gonna try to be back, I guess. Um I'm gonna try to let y'all know beforehand. But make sure I'm gonna see y'all over on the Forecast Radio 24 is over in the description. if you missed it in the chat. So I appreciate y'all. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we gonna keep falling for anything.